Welcome to the Four Direction. I'm your host, Mary Apollo, and today we are here at the United Nations. We are celebrating the International Youth for Human Rights Summit, the 18th summit, and I'm joined by a special guest, Harold De Sousa. He's a human rights advocate, award winner, and he is also a founder of Open International. Welcome, Mr. Harold De Sousa.
Thank you very much, Mary, for inviting me on to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, at the beginning, how does it feel to be back again at the United Nations and celebrating, receiving the award 2023? You received the Human Rights Award, Trailblazer Award, and also this year to be a speaker in this huge panel discussion.
I think every time visiting the United Nations is a unique feeling. It's a blessing because I think no one gets an opportunity to visit, and I'm very humbled because I am a survivor of labor trafficking and debt bondage. And last year I was nominated for the Human Rights Hero Award. It changes your vision, it changes your passion, and you become so grounded that people in this world are so much focused on human rights to ensure that there is peace, happiness and freedom in each and every country. So I'm really thrilled to be at the United Nations today and with you, Mary.
Thank you so much. So, as things goes back to you were a human rights trafficker. You quit your position back in India and you come to the United States to seek opportunity. Take us back about how does that feel to be a victim of human trafficking?
Yeah, Mary. So in India, growing up as a child, even today, it's a dream for every human being or person in India. Going to the United States of America is like going to Swarg, they say. Swarg is a Hindi vernacular language. Swarg means paradise. Swarg means heaven. So that was the big dream. So I never had a passport till I graduated. But to cut the long story short, in 2003, I was invited to the United States of America on an H-1B visa. That is $75,000 salary per year plus benefits. So I came on four things to the US. I came on a trust, I came on a faith, I came on a promise, and I came to live my American dream. So I came with my wife and my two sons who were 4 years and 7 years old. But the day I landed, my trafficker told me, Harold, are you carrying any cash? And I was carrying $1,000 cash. And he tells me, Harold, this is America, this is US. You can't keep any cash on you, it is not safe. So I believed him. And I gave my $1,000 cash and I gave all my documentation. That is the biggest mistake I did in my life. And I never knew that this is going to end my life. And I thought it is in safe custody. I came as a business development manager for a manufacturing company, but my wife and myself, we were made to work in a restaurant, and we were working from 14 hours to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. Labor trafficking in the United States of America takes places at 4 places: restaurants, gas stations, convenience stores, motels, and various other places.
Okay, and what about here some people say the nail spa salons too?
Sorry?
The nail spa?
Yeah, massage parlors. But where I got re-victimized, and which I know, it happens at massage parlors, it happens at warehouses, agriculture, farming, and various other places. But very common is at restaurants, gas stations, convenience stores, and motels. So, and what happens? This is a $150 billion industry after drugs. My trafficker was and is a multi-millionaire. Understand that? And they provide accommodation within the premises or next door. So that labor is available 24 hours. You cannot say, I cannot come to work, it is snowing. You don't need a vehicle. You have to just walk. And then they don't have to pay you any salary. So we were not paid a single penny for 18 months.
From the restaurant?
Yeah, from the owner. We worked 7 days a week. And our family, my wife and my two sons, used to sleep on the floor. We didn't know how to use a thermostat. We used to just live in one bedroom. We didn't have any food to eat, no furniture, no microwave. And we had just come from India. So that really hurts me that you cannot exploit anyone, especially kids. And we didn't know the culture, we didn't know the people, we didn't know how this law enforcement agencies works in the United States of America. We had no clue. Because we just came on a trust and we were like we were manipulated, tricked and trapped. I just want to give a small example. We came in 2003, more than 20 years back, right? And after a couple of, he made my wife work. My wife was not supposed to work. She was on an H4 dependent visa. But he had all pre-planned and he fixed my wife's salary $2,000 a month, telling us, oh, I'm going to buy a house for you. You know, you got 2 kids. So he gave us all the sugar-coated, like dreams. And we just believed him. I still remember it was the month of August of 2003. He comes and tells me, Harold, you got to take a bank loan. And then I said, no, I don't need a bank loan. I need my salary. But then, no, I'm going to buy a house for you. You need a credit score. I didn't know what is a credit score. But anyway, he takes me to a bank and I sign some documents. In 5 minutes, there is a check in my name, a 5-figure check. He drives me to his house at his multi-million dollar house and puts a scotch in a shot glass like this, and he says, Harold, cheers, let's celebrate, you're a rich man. And before I could gulp the scotch and reach my stomach, he removes a chit from his pocket. I don't have it, and tells me, Harold, you owe me this money.
Wow.
And Mary, I want to tell you, it was not $10,000. It was not $20,000. It was not $40,000. It was much more.
Wow. So you didn't read the document, huh?
No, I didn't. I just it was a loan, right? The loan was in my name. But after he understood that I got the loan, he's giving me a check that I owe him that money because that money would go to my bank account. So he had all pre-planned, which I didn't know. But in 1 second, I lost 4 things. I lost my voice. I lost my courage. I lost my hope. And I lost my freedom. And before I could realize what hit me, he comes and taps me here. Come on, let's go. You owe me much more. So it was not the full stop. And next day, he withdrew all the money from my bank account. So I didn't know. After many years, it was a debt bondage. I had no clue. But what happens? I was totally silenced. I just want to share like how people become a victim. You have to be trauma informed. This is just the tip of the iceberg of my journey. And that's the reason I want to be the voice for the voiceless victims.
And how did you find out that you are a victim of human trafficking at that time? Because now you totally changed your life and changing the life of others.
Yeah, but see, at that moment, Mary, I myself didn't know I'm a victim of human trafficking. I didn't know what it is. I didn't know what is slavery. I didn't know what is debt bondage. I was in a different world. You talk to anybody, any human, like person from Mexico, if he's actually a victim of human labor trafficking, and if you ask him, are you a victim of human labor trafficking? He'll say no. I didn't know anything. And I didn't know that this is human labor trafficking. Because I came on a trust. And then you break down. Your mind does not work. It becomes like a vegetable. Comes December, we never saw snow in India. When I grew up in India, we didn't have electricity and running water in the house. Right? So if there is no electricity, there is no refrigerator. So eating one ice cube was like eating ice cream. So when it snowed, my kids went to school. So we get a note from the school teacher that both my sons cannot come to school if they do not wear snow jackets. Now I didn't know what the hell is a snow jacket because we had sweaters from India which is see-through.
Yeah.
But these are some red flags where it could be identified at a very early stage in the school system by the bus driver, and that is why I'm trying to create awareness. My chef, he went and brought 2 snow jackets for my kids. That was very nice of him. Next day we get a note from the school teacher that both my sons cannot come to school if they do not wear snow gloves. And they had gloves, woolen gloves from India. But these are some small things where it could be identified as a red flag and people can be rescued at a very early stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so you, part of your organization, you help some other human rights traffickers to tell their story and to bring your voice. Why is that important for you?
It is very important. See, I grew up in India, you know. I still respect my father. Wherever I go, I take his photograph, you know.
Right.
I lost him in 2000, but I still believe that he lives with me. He gave me education. My father used to sleep on a railway station, but his values, character, education, faith, and love was very important. And when I was having a very good job back in India, I came here for better things, educated person. I was totally demolished. I was totally destroyed. My emotions, feelings, sentiments were totally devastated. And what happened is that I just want to share a little backwards is that in human labor trafficking in the United States of America, 90% of the victims are foreign nationals, right? And traffickers use 4 words. Even today, in entire US, to foreign nationals. Number 1, I'll get you arrested. Number 2, I'll get you handcuffed, and they'll do by action. Do you want to get handcuffed? So they make you feel, like. Number 3, I'll get you jailed. And number 4, I'll get you deported. So no human being or a victim would like to hear these 4 words, but that is how they scare you. And other thing, your name is Mary, my name is Harold. So my trafficker never ever called me by my name. He used to always snap his finger like this and tell me, hey, illegal, come here. This is how I used to use those words, illegal, hey, come here. It is how demolishing, puts you down. It is so hurtful. So what happened in my mind and body and soul over a period of time that I thought I'm a criminal. He said Americans do not like brown skinned guys. So these are many things that has affected me. And this is what I want to change, that the fear should be on the trafficker and not on the victims. And he always tells, see, they are coming to catch you. The immigration, the ICE, the police. So I was scared of any and every American, whether it is black or white. I used to just run away. I thought these people are they're just behind us. And any immigrant who comes to the United States of America, they always have an inferiority complex. It's natural because we always look at America as heaven. And we're the most powerful country in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so we respect them, we adore them, we admire them.
Everybody.
So that's a human nature. But so we respect them so we think they are there, we are here. So that is how it is. And then Eyes Open International happened because I was appointed by President Barack Obama on December 16th, 2015 at the White House. President Barack Obama was the first president in the United States of America, in the history of America, who started a US Advisory Council on Human Trafficking. He appointed 11 survivors and I was one among them. It was President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama who inspired me to start a non-profit.
Wow, wonderful.
I didn't know what is a non-profit.
Wow.
He said your story should be outside everywhere, the entire world should know. So I didn't know, but one young lady like you, American lady, helped me to start a non-profit. So it was started on August 24th, 2016. Eyes Open International. And it was my younger son who gave that name. We were brainstorming and he came out with that for almost 4 hours.
Oh.
We had come out with some 18 names and he was just sitting there. And he said, Eyes Open. And everybody, that's a good name. And we added international. So it was Rohan D'Souza who suggested that name to us. And that is how Eyes Open International took birth.
That's wonderful. I think also President Barack Obama, Trump appointed you, and then Martin Sheen is doing a documentary about you. You also went back to India, Bollywood now is working in this story about your life that will be in the theaters, and you are going back home also to do the work in India. How does that feel for you after all these years?
I think every country is like everybody's home country, whether it is India, Sudan, Nepal, Bangladesh, because America is the destination country. But countries like Sudan, Mexico, Guatemala, India, Nepal, Bangladesh is a source country. So I just want to create awareness in the source country in the initial stage that please do not come to the United States of America, illegally or undocumented. And people are paying $100,000, Mary, $100,000. It's not worth it. Out of 10, 9 people die. They don't reach. It takes them anywhere from 8 months to 1 year. It's not worth it. But nobody is preaching them or making awareness. And that is what Eyes Open International is doing. We tell them, come to the US, go to Canada, go to different countries. It's a good country. But come legally. know the do's and don'ts, know the human trafficking, national human trafficking hotline number. That's 1-888-3737-888. So if you are stuck in any situation, even if you don't have any documentation, you can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. And many people do not know the resources available for foreign nationals. If you are a victim of labor trafficking, debt bondage, or even sexual abuse, and you are a foreign national, your passport, documents is all been taken by the trafficker, you are still entitled for a continued presence status. It's a status. With that status, you can do anything and everything. You'll get for any common man to survive in the United States of America, you need 4 things. You need a social security card. You need a work permit. You need an SSN, and then you need freedom. That is what I'm trying to say. But with this continued presence status, you'll get all the 4 things. And that is what it does. Once you have the CP, you can apply for a U visa, a T visa, and a permanent residency card, and then eventually US citizenship. Why I say this so loud and clear, my case went to the FBI. So I was granted the continued presence, the U visa, the T visa, the permanent residency card, and the US citizenship. I am a brand new US citizen after 20 years.
Oh, long time. So if the person is a human trafficker and he reached to Open Eyes International, how can the organization help them?
We navigate them. So we get a lot of calls from victims in the US and internationally also. So whenever we coordinate, we have a team also. So whenever a victim calls us, I always tell them 2 things first. Number 1, we don't take a single penny from the victim. So we make it very clear.
Non-profit.
Yeah. And number 2, we tell them that we are a postman. So they say, what do you mean by postman? So we tell them that we just get you connected. I'm not doing anything. I don't have the power. Right? If I'm convinced that this person is a victim of human labor trafficking, and I am convinced with that, then I will contact the law enforcement agencies, the concerned delegates, and then from that they'll take it over. So then they are the one who can authorize or verify and grant them the continued presence status, the U visa. We know attorneys, So a lot of people who are like contributing. So people can contribute to a lot of non-profit organizations in their own community. So there are doctors who are volunteering for us. So many victims do not have medical insurance in the US. So doctors are working, some doctors, they're trying to do free for the victims. So that's a big blessing. It's not about money. People are doing counseling for victims. They say, okay, Harold, send them to me. So we have a team. Always a teamwork makes the dream work.
You talk about therapy, the importance of anybody who faces human trafficking to get therapy. Why is it important?
Oh, that's $1 million question. Therapy is very, very important. My FBI agent told me, Harold, you need to go for counseling. And I was totally upset. Because in my country, India, that means I'm mentally sick. I'm gone. So I was reluctant to go. But then I had no choice. So I went. So I filled the forms, my wife and myself. And then they call us, the non-profit or service provider, that shows a young lady. And she told me, oh, so you take substance. And I tick marks, but I didn't know what is substance. Then my wife tells, no, it doesn't. Substance means drugs. But I had no clue. But what I'm trying to share, that one should know that people assume that the victim knows everything or the person knows everything if he's immigrant or not an immigrant also. But anyway, we started going for counseling. After 6 months, my service provider, who was a young American lady, she used to tell, Harold, why do you call yourself illegal? I told her, I'm illegal, I'm illegal. So that was how I was to just say. Then one word in 1 second changed my life. She said, Harold, you're not illegal, you are undocumented. I said, oh wow, yeah, so I'm not a criminal. See, so I'm telling, then after 1 year she told me, Harold, why do you beat up yourself? I used to always say, I failed on 4 P's. I failed as a parent, I failed as a provider, I failed as a protector, and I failed as a person. But with the 30 articles of human rights, which I got myself educated, I flipped the 4 P's into passion, purpose, power, and prayers. And after 1 year, she told me, Harold, you should accept your mistake. And after I accepted my mistake, I changed. So counseling, therapy is very, very important. If anybody is a victim of any crime, I strongly recommend that he or she should go. I still go.
So which population do you serve mostly?
I serve all populations. Like, it's nothing fixed. Like, there are people like who are from very vulnerable. So my Eyes Open International is focused on prevention, education, protection, and empowerment of victims, survivors, vulnerable populations, and community members all over the world. Even if there's a population who's very well educated, and they're doing very well, but they should be aware of their human rights. They should be aware of human trafficking. It can happen to anyone. In my case, I was not of any population to become a victim. I was educated. I was doing pretty well, but I didn't know. So this can happen to anyone. I do presentations in the United States of America at colleges, and I tell the American students, tomorrow, if you're going on a study abroad trip to some different countries, like for example, you're going to UAE, the laws are different. You can't do the same things that you're doing here, but you should be aware, and you don't become a victim. And that is why I'm telling you, you cannot segregate. Yeah, but it does happen that there are a lot of vulnerable populations, and that is what we do. We go to India and educate the students in the rural areas. Thank you.
So there is 2.7 million is still human trafficking worldwide. People have been human trafficked. Are you still worried about human trafficking in the world today?
I still worry. See, at the United Nations, they showed a video. They showed about kids in different countries, like starving, young, maybe like 2-year-old, 4-year-old, just dying for no food. So that breaks me down. We have so much food here, and I cannot tolerate, it just bothers me. It makes me uncomfortable. So whatever little I can do, I think every individual, like you, every individual on this planet has the power to change the world. We have to just use it. We cannot just leave it on the President of the United States of America or our governor or to the United Nations. We all have to participate collectively. Always tell, teamwork makes the dream work.
So your family, you all survive human trafficking, and then your sons, what are you expecting from your sons in the future, and also the younger generation of people?
I think it is the next generation who can end modern day slavery. And I'll tell you about my 2 sons. They were 4 years old and 7 years old. They were the most traumatized. My both sons were physically abused by my trafficker. And I just want to give a small example. People ask me, Harold, tell me something about yourself. I always tell 3 things. I'm a common man, I'm a failure, and I'm a sinner. My 4-year-old son was slapped in front of my own eyes. A full-fledged slap. Right? Now, you don't hit a child even if he has done a mistake. Now, my son did not do anything.
Wow.
But that slap was on me, and that slap hit me on my heart. Even today it burns. To teach me a lesson, to discipline me, and to ensure that whatever the trafficker says, I just keep my head down and work. And that's why I say I'm a sinner. I didn't say anything. I just kept quiet. And that really bothers me. And I'll tell you another thing. My trafficker told me outright, he hired a hitman to kill me. So I was talking to my wife like this and telling, I'm going to die. So my younger son, Rohan, was playing on the floor facing the wall. And I always tell to the parents and adults, don't be scared what the child speaks, or don't be scared what the child sees, but be scared what the child hears. So he comes and taps me here, and I look behind, and he tells me, Dadu, if you die, who'll take care of my schooling? So it was like, yeah, so it hit me. Then I thought I got to live, because I almost surrendered. I'd given up. Yeah, then I thought that no, then it's a miracle. He did hire a guy to hit me. But see, God has the power. My visa was denied. God said, you're going back. I was hospitalized. But today I'm here with you.
Wonderful.
So I always believe that kids, age is just a number. Aim high, achieve higher, and aspire happiness. If all goes well, you'll see my younger son play in the Wimbledon. And my older son, Bradley D'Souza, he was invited for President Barack Obama's inaugural function. He was nominated as a national scholar, as a global scholar in the US. He was invited to the Nobel Peace Award at Sweden. He's working for Tesla for the last 10 years. Thank you.
That's wonderful. That's very powerful. So yesterday in your speech you mentioned your dad, and today you are here, an international platform doing this work. Have you succeeded in your mission?
I don't think so till I die. There's nothing called, I don't believe in success. Means you work hard. For me, success is something, I see success in the face of the victims. Other day, one lady from Nepal, she called me on the phone. She said, Bhaiya, बहुत तू भगवान है, मेरे को मेरा green card मिल गया. Means she's saying, brother, you're God. I just issued my green card, and you're means permanent residency card. And the first person I'm calling is you. she was in some other state, but I could see that glowing face, on the phone, the excitement. So that is I don't believe in that's called delight. So I'm not doing it for any success. I never thought I'll be sitting here with you and talking. I never dreamt I'll come to the United Nations or go to the White House. It's all Almighty's blessings, and I think, like Mother Teresa always said, do not waste time judging people, just love them. And I do not have even 10,000 days left in my life. That is 27 years, 4 months. So I think what I can give, not what I can take. And I know how my kids were abused. We were starving for water, we were starving for food. My trafficker used to call me like homeless, useless, like trash can. I've heard all the bad words which I never heard in my entire life. But then I decided, if I cannot predict my future, one day I decided I'll create my own future. And that is what I'm doing today. And I just want to tell all the young generation, failure is the path to success.
What is next for Harold D'Souza in your life?
Nothing. I'm just want to keep moving and keep doing little things what I can do, one thing at a time. I take one day at a time. It's nothing. And whatever comes to me, I just accept it. I don't say no. Anybody calls me, like today you called me, I never say no to anybody. Because my overall objective, and you're doing a great work. Let me tell you one thing. I want to appreciate you. Modest, magnificent Mary. What you're doing is very powerful work. Conveying this all over the globe, this message is very, very important. Media plays a very big role. This will save many person's life. If you even save one person's life, I believe my mission is accomplished. I just want to share, like making a mistake is not a mistake. Making no mistake is a mistake. Repeating a mistake is a big mistake. But learning from a mistake and helping the victims all over the world to live a life with happiness, peace, and freedom is not a mistake. Thank you.
That's so powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
I just want to add one thing, that whenever I go anywhere, I always carry this human rights booklet, the 30 articles, Like Article 1 says, everyone is born free and equal. Article 4 says, no slavery. Article 5 says, no torture.
Yeah.
So everybody should be empowered with and educated with these 30 articles of the United Nations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. That's really a wonderful interview.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wish you a safe journey back home.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for watching the 4 Direction again. My name is Mary Apollo. I'm the host. Thank you so much. See you in a different episode in the 4 Direction. Stay tuned. Bye.